The docking bay hummed with the sound of machinery as Captain Elena Hayes walked toward her new ship. The Valiant sat before her like a beast that refused to follow the rules. Every line of her hull broke some standard that the Galactic Council had spent centuries building. Elena stopped and stared at the vessel. She had read the reports 3 times. She still could not believe they had approved this design. Commander Lucas Grant caught up with her, his boots echoing across the metal floor. He was taller than Elena, with broad shoulders and the kind of face that made people trust him. That was useful in a first officer. Trust mattered when lives were on the line. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Grant said. He spoke with the tone of a man who was not entirely sure he believed what he was saying. "Terrifying," Elena replied. "Come on, let's see what they have put together for us." They boarded the ship through the main airlock. The interior was clean and sharp, all gray metal and blue lighting. The corridors were wider than standard designs. Elena had noticed that in the blueprints. Someone had decided that human crews needed to move differently than the aliens in the Council's fleet. That someone was Chief Engineer George Palmer. Palmer was waiting for them in the main engineering bay. He was a short man with gray hair and hands that never stopped moving. He had designed 17 ships before this one, but never one like the Valiant. "Captain," Palmer said, nodding. "Commander, welcome to the future of human warfare." Elena looked at the reactor core before them. It pulsed with a soft blue light. The power distribution system was unlike anything she had seen. Cables ran in patterns that seemed almost random to someone trained in Council standards. But they were not random. They were adaptive. "Tell me how this works," Elena said. Palmer grinned. "The power grid can reroute itself in microseconds. If one section takes damage, the system pulls energy from somewhere else. It happens automatically. No delay. No human choice needed." "The Council will hate that," Grant said quietly. "Let them," Palmer replied. "We are not fighting like them. Our enemies think in straight lines. They plan everything 10 moves ahead. We think in circles. We change. We adapt. We survive." Elena walked along the edge of the reactor bay. She understood what Palmer was saying. The alien fleets in the Council were built on order. The Zephians ran their ships with rigid chains of command. The Zelorn used algorithms that predicted every possible outcome. The Turellians moved as a collective, each ship linked mentally to the others. Humanity had none of that. Humans had something else. They had chaos. They had the ability to break their own rules when the situation demanded it. "Show me the weapon systems," Elena said. They moved through the ship. Palmer took them to the tactical center. The screens here were different too. Instead of the narrow displays that Council ships used, the Valiant had wide, curved monitoring systems. Multiple officers could see the same data at the same time and react without waiting for orders to pass through layers of command. "Faster decisions," Palmer explained. "Humans think quick when they need to. We built the ship around that strength." After the tour, Elena went to the bridge. The captain's chair sat in the center, slightly elevated but not distant from the other stations. This was wrong by Council standards. A captain should be separate, above the crew. But Elena understood what Palmer had done. He had made the bridge a place where people worked together instead of a place where one person controlled everything. Diplomatic. Officer Dr. Patricia Wells was waiting for Elena in the captain's ready room. Wells was a woman in her late 50s with sharp eyes and sharper words. She had spent 20 years learning how to talk to aliens without making them angry. "We have a problem," Wells said without greeting. "Already?" Elena sat down behind her desk. "The Galactic Council is sending an observer, a Zephian named Valorax. He will be aboard for the maiden voyage." Elena felt the weight of that information settle on her shoulders. The Zethians were the oldest species in the council. They had been spacefaring when humans were still figuring out how to make fire. They believed in order, protocol, and following rules that had been written 10,000 years ago. A Zethian on her bridge would be like putting ice water in a furnace. "When does he arrive?" Elena asked. "Tomorrow morning." Elena stood and walked to the window. Below, the docking bay continued its work. Humans moved across catwalks and platforms. They loaded supplies. They checked systems. They prepared for the unknown. That was what humans did. They were not afraid of the unknown. They ran toward it. "Okay," Elena said. "We will show him something his people have never seen before." The next morning, Valorax arrived. He was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. His eyes were black from corner to corner, with no whites at all. He moved with perfect grace and never made an unnecessary gesture. Everything about him screamed control. Elena greeted him in the docking bay with her senior staff. Lieutenant Kevin Cross stood to her right. He was her tactical officer, a man who had spent his entire military life learning how to break things. To his left was Tyler Brooks, barely more than a kid, her helmsman. Tyler had quick hands and faster instincts. He had been drafted into the Navy at 18 and had never questioned a single order. Dr. Aaron Vincent stood behind them, the ship's medical officer. Vincent was calm and collected, the kind of person who did not panic when things fell apart. "Welcome aboard the Valiant, Diplomat Valorax," Elena said, extending her hand. Valorax looked at her hand for a moment. Then he took it. His grip was cold and precise. "Captain Hayes," he said. His voice sounded like wind moving through a narrow space. "I have been sent by the Council to ensure that your vessel operates within established protocols. I understand this may be difficult for your species." Elena kept smiling. "We work hard to follow the rules, Diplomat. Though sometimes we find new ones are better." Valorax's black eyes narrowed slightly. "New rules are the beginning of chaos." "Maybe," Elena said. "Or maybe they are the beginning of something better. Come, let me show you the ship." As she led Valorax through the corridors, Elena caught sight of her reflection in the polished metal walls. She looked calm. She looked certain. She looked like a captain who knew exactly what she was doing. That was good, because what she was about to do would break every rule the Galactic Council had ever written. The Valiant would launch in 2 days, and Elena was going to show the galaxy what humanity could really do. The deep space around the Valiant was empty and black. 3 weeks had passed since the ship left the Mars station. The crew had settled into the rhythm of their work. Everything was normal. Everything was routine. Then the distress signal came through. Elena was in her ready room reviewing the patrol logs when the alarm sounded. Not the combat alarm. The priority message alarm. She moved to the bridge in less than 30 seconds. Lieutenant Kevin Cross was already standing at the tactical station. His hands moved across the console with the speed of someone who had practiced this 1,000 times. "We have a distress call," Cross said. "Origin point is the Kepler Expanse. It is the Tyrellian mining colony at Station 7 Delta. They are under attack." Elena moved to her captain's chair. "Distance? 4 hours at maximum speed. They are reporting armed assault. Multiple enemy vessels. The colony estimates they have less than 6 hours before collapse." Tyler Brooks turned from his helm station. He was pale. His hands gripped the edge of the console. "Captain, the Vex are not part of the Council. They do not follow any rules. If we engage them, it is an act of war." "I know," Elena said quietly. Dr. Patricia Wells stood from her station near the tactical display. Her face was hard. "Captain, we cannot engage. The Council protocols on non-interference are clear. We have been ordered specifically to avoid conflict with species outside our borders. This is a test. They are watching to see if we will follow the rules." Valarax stepped forward. The Zethian had been standing silently in the corner of the bridge, observing everything. Now his black eyes fixed on Elena. "Captain Hayes," Valarax said, "the Council observers have made their position clear. We will document this situation. We will report it, but we will not intervene." Elena turned to face him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Behind them, the distress signal continued. It was a human voice broadcasting into the void. A woman's voice. And beneath the words of the message, Elena could hear the sound of children crying. "How?" Elena said. "Plot a course to Station 7 Delta. Maximum speed." "Captain, no," Wells said. "You cannot do this." "I can," Elena replied. "I am the captain of this ship. That colony is full of families. There are children there. You heard the signal. We can help them. We will help them. This will destroy your career," Wells warned. "Then it will be destroyed for something that matters," Elena said. The Valiant accelerated. Tyler Brooks pushed the engines beyond the recommended limits. The ship shook slightly as it moved faster than it was supposed to move. Nothing broke. The adaptive power systems Palmer had designed simply rerouted the energy where it needed to go. Valarax stood firm, his expression unchanged. "I am recording this decision for the Council. You understand the consequences." "I understand," Elena said. The 4-hour journey took 3 hours and 40 minutes. Tyler Brooks had found routes through space that were not on any official map. He had cut corners and bent physics just enough to save time. When the Kepler expanse finally appeared on their screens, the colony was still burning. The Vex battlecruiser hung above the station like a predator over prey. It was larger than the Valiant. Much larger. Its weapon systems were more advanced. Every tactical analysis the ship's computers ran came back with the same conclusion. The Valiant could not win this fight. Elena leaned forward in her chair. "Cross, what is the enemy's tactical pattern?" "Rigid, ma'am," Cross replied. "They are holding formation, firing in programmed sequences. It is efficient. It is also predictable. Then we will be unpredictable. Help, begin an attack pattern. Palmer, I need every drop of power the Valiant can give me. Do not hold anything back." Palmer's voice came through the communication system. "Captain, the reactor is already running hot. If I push it further, push it," Elena said. The ship moved. Not in the straight logical patterns the Council warships used. The Valiant twisted and turned and dived. Tyler Brooks moved the helm with the grace of someone dancing to music only he could hear. The ship became a thing that refused to follow basic rules of physics. It bent space in ways that seemed impossible. The Vex battlecruiser tried to follow them. Its computers could not keep up. Its weapon systems, designed for predictable targets, missed again and again. The Valiant fired back, not with overwhelming force, with precision. The human crew found the weak points in the enemy's armor and struck them over and over. 10 minutes into the battle, the Vex started to retreat. 12 minutes in, they jumped to faster than light speed and disappeared. But the victory cost them. The Valiant had taken damage. One section of the shield generators was offline. The starboard weapons array was smoking. And in the corridor near the reactor core, the walls had buckled and twisted. Elena stood from her chair. "Damage report. Hull breaches in sections 4 and 6, came the response. "Engineering reports the shield generator is offline. Weapons array is damaged but functional. We have casualties in engineering and medical is treating injured crew." "And the colony?" Elena asked. "They are still there, Captain. They are still alive." Elena looked at Valarax. The Zethian's face showed no emotion. He was recording everything. Every decision. Every choice. Every moment of rebellion against the rules that governed the galaxy. "Helm, take us down," Elena commanded. "Let's get those people off that station." As the Valiant descended toward the mining colony, Elena felt the weight of everything she had done. She had disobeyed direct orders. She had violated the Council's non-interference protocols. She had risked her ship and her crew and her career. But below her, in the burning colony, there were families. There were children who would live because she had chosen to break the rules. She could live with that. The evacuation shuttles landed on the mining colony while explosions still shook the ground. Dr. Aaron Vincent had set up a medical station inside the main residential structure. He moved from person to person, checking wounds and determining who needed immediate transport to the Valiant. Elena descended the shuttle ramp with her tactical team. The colony was a disaster. Buildings were collapsed. Equipment was destroyed. Fires burned across the industrial sector. But the people were alive. Hundreds of them had made it to the shelters. Now they had a chance to survive. "Move quickly," Elena called out. "Get everyone to the shuttles. We do not have much time." The colonists were in shock. Some did not want to leave. They had built this place. It was their home. But fear moved them faster than attachment. Within minutes, the shuttles were full. Elena watched the first wave lift off toward the Valiant. A small figure caught her eye. A Tyrellian child, barely 5 years old, was standing alone near the collapsed medical facility. The girl's skin was a pale blue-green color. Her large eyes were filled with terror. She was looking around at the chaos and the fire and the death, and she was completely alone. Elena left her position and moved toward the child. Her tactical officer, Kevin Cross, called after her. "Captain, we need to leave." Elena ignored him. She walked to the small Tyrellian girl and knelt down. The child looked at Elena and then looked away. The girl was trembling. "My name is Elena," the captain said quietly. "What is your name?" "Sora," the girl whispered. "Sora, I need you to come with me." "Can you do that?" The child looked at Elena for a long moment. Then she reached out her small hand. Elena took it. Her skin felt fragile and cold. Elena stood and carried Sora back to the shuttle. "We are leaving now," Elena told Cross. "Everyone to the shuttles, now." The final evacuation shuttle launched just as the mining colony's reactor began its final shutdown. The Valiant sensors registered a thermal spike. The colony was dying. But 1,743 colonists were now aboard the Valiant, safe in the ship's emergency shelters and cargo bays. Dr. Vincent worked for 18 straight hours. His medical team was small. The casualties were many. But every person who needed to live made it through. By the time Vincent stumbled out of the medical bay, his hands were shaking from exhaustion. Elena was waiting for him in the corridor. She was holding Sora. The Tyrellian child had fallen asleep against Elena's shoulder. "How many?" Elena asked. 17 dead among the evacuees, Vincent said. 3 more died from their wounds despite our efforts. 72 injured, but stable. "You saved them, Captain. You saved almost all of them." Elena did not feel like a savior. She felt like someone who had made a choice and now had to live with the consequences. The message from the Galactic Council came through 2 hours later. Valorax transmitted it himself. His black eye showed nothing as he delivered the words. "Captain Elena Hayes," the message read, "you are hereby relieved of command pending a formal inquiry into your conduct. The Valiant will return immediately to Council space under the command of Observer Valorax. You have violated non-interference protocols. You have exceeded your authority. You have jeopardized diplomatic relations with species on the Council border. These are serious matters. Your case will be heard by the full council tribunal." Elena read the message twice. Then she folded it and placed it on her desk. She was finished. Her career was over. Everything she had worked for since she was a child was gone. But in the medical bay, 17 people had survived the colony's destruction. Sora would have a future. The others would see their families again. Elena left the ready room and walked to the main hangar. Her crew was there. All of them. Lucas Grant stood in front, his face steady and strong. George Palmer was there with grease still under his fingernails. Tyler Brooks stood with his arms crossed, his jaw set. Kevin Cross had his hand on his weapon. Dr. Patricia Wells stood in the middle, tears running down her face. "I wanted to tell you all together," Elena said. "The council has relieved me of command. I am not your captain anymore. I have made that choice for myself and for all of you. But I am not sorry." "Captain," Grant said, stepping forward, "I request permission to make a statement before the tribunal on your behalf." "Lucas, no. They will remove you too." "I know," Grant said. "That is what I am willing to do." One by one, her crew stepped forward. Palmer said he would testify. Vincent offered his medical records. Brooks said he would show them the flight patterns he had used. Cross offered every tactical decision he had made during the battle. Dr. Wells simply walked to Elena and hugged her. "You are the best captain I have ever served under," Wells said. "I will tell them that." That night, Elena sat in the observation deck and looked at the stars. Sora found her there. The Tyrellian child had woken from her sleep and was exploring the ship. She walked to Elena without fear and sat down beside her. "Are you sad?" Sora asked. Her small voice was quiet and clear. "Yes," Elena said. "I am sad. My parents are gone," Sora said. "They will not come back. But you saved me. My grandmother is on this ship. She is sad too. But she will not lose me. That is because of you." Elena looked at the small child. Sora reached out and took her hand. The touch was simple and warm and real. "Thank you," Sora said. Elena did not speak. She could not. She simply held the hand of the child she had saved and watched the stars pass by the window. Above her, on the bridge, Valarax was watching too. And for the first time in his long life, the Zethian diplomat began to understand something about humans that no amount of study could teach him. Humans were willing to lose everything for something that mattered. There was a power that no weapon could ever match. The council chamber was massive. It rose in circular tiers from the center stage where Elena stood. Representatives from 53 different species filled the seats. The Zethians occupied the highest positions. Below them were the Zaelorn in their mechanical chairs. The Tyrellians sat together in a cluster, their minds linked through technology that allowed them to think as one. Elena felt small in that space. A single human woman standing before the entire government of the known galaxy. She had no armor. She had no weapons. She had only the truth. The chief judge was a Zethian named Krillvex. His skin was older than Valarax's, marked with patterns that indicated his age and status. He looked down at Elena with eyes that held 10,000 years of power. "Captain Elena Hayes," Krillvex said, his voice carrying through the chamber. "You stand accused of violating Council Protocol 7749, Section 3, which strictly forbids interference in conflicts involving non-Council species. You are also accused of exceeding your authority as a starship captain, violating the directives of an official observer, and jeopardizing diplomatic relations. How do you respond?" Elena took a breath. She had practiced this moment for days, but no amount of practice could have prepared her for the weight of those eyes watching her. "I accept that I broke those rules," Elena said. She spoke clearly and did not rush her words. I violated the protocols. I know this. I did it anyway because I was faced with a choice. I could follow rules or I could save lives. I chose to save lives. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some delegates leaned toward each other and spoke in languages Elena could not understand. The rules were written to maintain order, Elena continued. But there are moments when the rules become obstacles to justice. The Tyrellian colony was attacked by the Vex. They were not soldiers. They were miners. They were families. They were children. The Council's protocol of non-interference meant that humanity would stand aside and watch them die. I could not do that. Krillvex raised one hand. The chamber fell silent. Commander Lucas Grant, the judge said, "The tribunal has heard that you wish to testify on behalf of the accused." Lucas Grant stood. He had been sitting in the witness area of the chamber. He wore his dress uniform, and he looked every inch the professional soldier. But his eyes were fixed on Elena. "I was trained to follow orders," Grant said. "I was trained to respect the chain of command. Captain Hayes violated that chain. She disobeyed direct instructions from the Council's own observer, and I believe she was right to do so." Grant walked to stand beside Elena. The gesture was powerful. He was standing with her. Against the Council. Against the centuries of protocol. The mining colony was attacked without warning, Grant said. Without provocation. The Vex wanted to expand their territory. They did not care about the lives they destroyed. The Council's rules said we should not interfere. But I asked this body, what good is the Galactic Council if it allows innocent people to die simply to maintain the rules? Dr. Aaron Vincent testified next. He presented medical data and casualty reports. He showed the court the injuries of those who had been brought aboard the Valiant. Some of the injuries were severe enough that without immediate treatment, the victims would have died within hours. The Vex had not given them those hours. 37 people died in that colony, Vincent said, looking directly at the judges. If Captain Hayes had not intervened, the death toll would have been 1,700. Those are not numbers. Those are individuals. Those are lives. I treated them. I saved them. And I am grateful that Captain Hayes chose to give them that chance. Then came the surprise. A Tyrellian delegate stood from the lower benches. Tyrellians moved as a collective consciousness. One could not act without all others knowing. This meant something important. The Tyrellian collective wishes to speak, the delegate said. His voice carried the weight of every mind in the collective. The Tyrellian moved to the center of the chamber. When he spoke, his words came from thousands of minds joined together. We are victims of the Vex attack, the delegate said. 1,743 citizens of our colony were on station, 7 Delta. Without the intervention of Captain Hayes, we would have lost them all. The Council's non-interference protocol would have allowed our people to die. We do not support a policy that values rule following above the lives of citizens. We ask the court to consider the wisdom of that protocol. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted and gestured. Some species supported the Tyrellian statement. Others argued against it. The Zethians and the Zalorn pushed back hard. Rules were the foundation of civilization, they said. Without rules, there was chaos. That was when Keshthir stood. Keshthir was an older Zalorn, a being made partly of flesh and partly of machine. Her voice carried weight because she had served on the council for 300 years. She had seen empires rise and fall. She had watched the galaxy change through centuries of protocol and order. I support the Tyrellian position, Keshthir said. The chamber fell completely silent. Captain Elena Hayes did not break the rules because she wanted to cause chaos. She broke the rules because the rules were wrong. Keshthir paused. Every eye in the chamber turned toward her. The Galactic Council was formed to bring order to the stars. she continued. That is a worthy goal. But we have become so focused on maintaining order that we have forgotten why order matters. Order is meant to protect life. When the rules prevent us from protecting life, then the rules are no longer serving their purpose. Captain Hayes understood this. She's exactly the kind of leader the galaxy needs. Not someone who blindly follows rules. Someone who is willing to question whether the rules serve justice. The vote was called. It took 3 hours. The chamber deliberated and argued. Species spoke for and against Elena. In the end, the vote was not unanimous, but it was clear. Elena was found not guilty of charges related to the non-interference violation. The vote was 41 to 12. Krillvex announced the decision. Captain Elena Hayes is cleared of all charges related to the rescue of the mining colony. However, the tribunal finds that her actions violated direct orders from an official observer. For this violation, she will be placed under council oversight. A review committee will monitor the Valiant's operations for the next 2 years. The ship and its crew are hereby assigned diplomatic missions on behalf of the council. Elena felt her shoulders drop. She was not being removed. She was not being imprisoned. She was still a captain. Kashthir approached her after the session ended. The old Zalon moved slowly, her mechanical parts whirring softly. You have changed things, Kashthir said to Elena. The council will not be the same. Other species will challenge the rules now. There will be more conflicts. But there will also be more justice. I hope so, Elena said. I know so, Kashthir replied. That is the power of one person willing to break the rules. Change spreads. That evening, Elena was escorted to see Sora. The young Tyrellian had been brought to the council station. Her grandmother, an elderly female with deep blue skin, was waiting. Sora ran to Elena, the child's small arms wrapped around Elena's legs. She held on tight. You won, Sora said. You beat the big people. Elena knelt down and held the child close. Over Sora's shoulder, she saw the grandmother nodding in gratitude. We won together, Elena told Sora. All of us. The Valiant sat in the docking bay, fully repaired and ready for duty. 3 months had passed since the tribunal ended. The ship was no longer a curiosity or a threat. Now the galaxy wanted to understand it. Engineers from a dozen different species had requested access to the ship's design plans. They wanted to learn how humans had created something so different. Something so effective. Elena stood on the observation deck and looked at her ship. The damage from the Vex battle had been repaired, but the scars remained. Small marks on the hull where weapons fire had hit. Those marks were her badge now. They showed that the Valiant had fought and survived. Lucas Grant entered the observation deck quietly. His promotion to captain of his own vessel had come through. He would leave the Valiant tomorrow. That hurt. Grant had been with her from the beginning. How are you feeling? Grant asked. Strange, Elena admitted. The rules saved us. The tribunal ruling protected us. But Kashthir was right. The rules are changing. Other captains are asking for permission to break them, to trust their instincts. It is spreading, Lucas. Because you showed them it could work, Grant said. You showed them that humans are not reckless when we bend the rules. We are careful. We are thoughtful. And we care about people. They stood in silence for a while. Below them, the crew was boarding. New orders had come through that morning. The council wanted the Valiant to mediate peace talks between 2 warring species on the Outer Rim. It was the kind of mission that only a human captain could do. Both sides had agreed to trust Elena. After what she had done, they knew she would not abandon them if things got difficult. Dr. Patricia Wells appeared on the observation deck with a datapad in her hands. She looked excited. Captain, you need to see this, Wells said. I have received reports from 3 different human colonies. They are all requesting warship designs based on the Valiant's specifications. The council approved the requests. Elena took the datapad and looked at the data. 3 new ships. 3 new captains. 3 new voices that would not simply follow the old rules. This is the change Keshthir talked about, Wall said. It is happening faster than we expected. That afternoon, young Tyler Brooks came to Elena's ready room. He was still her helmsman, and he was the best pilot in the fleet. The injury he had hidden during the battle had healed completely. "Captain," Tyler said, "I want to stay with the Valiant. I know other ships have offered me positions. Better positions. More pay. But I want to stay here. This ship changed me. I want to keep flying her." "You are a good pilot, Tyler," Elena said. "One day, you will be a great captain. When that happens, you will have the chance to break your own rules." "I hope so," Tyler said. "I never want to follow rules again if it means standing aside while people need help." That is what humans do, Elena thought. We learn from each other. We passed a lesson down. We changed the system from inside. George Palmer invited Elena to the engineering bay for one final inspection. The chief engineer was beaming with pride. The reactor was running better than ever. The adaptive power systems had been refined and improved. The weapons arrays had been upgraded with technology developed from lessons learned in the Vex battle. "She is ready for anything now, Captain," Palmer said. "We took what worked and made it better. That is the human way, is it not?" "It is," Elena agreed. The last visitor was Dr. Aaron Vincent. The ship's medical officer had been quieter than usual since the tribunal. He had spent long hours in the medical bay, treating the remaining injured colonists. Most had been released to return to their families, but 3 had stayed. They were too injured to survive the journey home. Vincent had taken on their care personally. "They are asking about you," Vincent said. "The 3 colonists. They want to thank you before we leave for the Outer Rim." Elena went to the medical bay with Vincent. 3 people lay in recovery beds. An elderly Tyrellian man and woman. A Jix colonist, a being with skin like smooth stone. They looked at Elena with eyes full of gratitude. "You saved our lives," the Tyrellian woman said. "We all did," Elena replied. "The choice to save you was made by everyone on this ship. You are here because we decided together that your lives mattered more than rules." As Elena turned to leave, a message came through on her personal communicator. It was from Sora. The young Tyrellian had sent a data file. Inside was a recorded message. "Hello, Captain Elena," Sora's voice came through the communicator. "My grandmother helped me send this message. I wanted to thank you for saving my life. I wanted to thank you for being my guardian star. The Tyrellian children call you that now. The ones who lived because you broke the rules. We call you our guardian star. We will never forget you." The image changed. It showed dozens of young Tyrellian children waving at the camera. They were smiling. They were alive. Because Elena had chosen to break the rules. That evening, Elena gathered the crew in the main hangar. Lucas Grant was there with his dress uniform on, ready to depart for his new assignment. Dr. Wells stood beside Elena. George Palmer had brought the senior engineering team. Tyler Brooks stood at attention with his hand over his heart. "I want to tell you all something," Elena said. Her voice was calm and clear. "What we did was not reckless. What we did was necessary. And what we are about to do is even more important. We are going to the Outer Rim. We are going to help species who cannot help themselves. We are going to show the galaxy that humanity does not just follow rules. We create the rules that matter." She paused and looked at each of them. "But we need to understand something. Every time we break a rule, we become responsible for what happens next. We cannot use our principles as an excuse for carelessness. We have to be smarter. We have to be better. We have to earn the trust that Keshthir and the Council have given us. Yes, Captain, came the response from the crew. Then let's go break some more rules, Elena said. And this time, let's change the galaxy while we do it. The crew dispersed. By evening, the Valiant was fully prepared. Tyler Brooks ran his hands across the helm controls. Elena took her place in the captain's chair. The bridge legs came to life around them. All hands prepared on dock, Elena announced. The Valiant separated from the station slowly. As the ship moved away, Elena stood and looked at the view screen. Before her, the stars stretched out into infinity. Somewhere out there, species were fighting. Families were dying. Rules were preventing justice, but the Valiant was coming. And where the Valiant went, things would change. Elena sat back down in her chair. She thought of Sora and the grandmother who held her. She thought of the colonists sleeping safely in the medical bay. She thought of Lucas Grant, who was willing to sacrifice his own career for what was right. The Galactic Council thought they were sending the Valiant on a simple diplomatic mission. They were wrong. Elena was sending her ship out to change the galaxy. One rule at a time. Helm, Elena said quietly. Set course for the outer rim. Maximum speed. Course set, Captain, Tyler replied. His hands moved across the controls with perfect precision. Ready to jump to faster than light speed on your command. Then jump, Elena said. The Valiant accelerated. The stars stretched into lines of light as the ship passed through normal space and into something faster, something better, something human. Behind them, Mars Station fell away. Ahead, the galaxy waited. And in every human colony across the known universe, young people were watching. They were seeing what was possible. They were learning that the rules did not have to bind you. They were learning what it meant to be human. The future had arrived, and it was flying aboard the Valiant.